pretty solid thing here. And with Iowa maybe on a downward trend and Northwestern on a downward trend, we'll see what happens with Purdue with this new system and going defense heavy, because we'll get to Purdue. Defensive-minded coaches don't do well at Purdue, by and large. It's Joe Tiller and Jeff Brom. There's a reason that you have to win a certain way at Purdue, and it's usually offensive focused. But we'll get to Purdue. So we're both hitting the over. Is this going to be another agree this week,
man? Let's hope not. Let's hope the listeners don't have to sit through another one of those.
Iowa, 7.5, Matt Green. When you look at this schedule and what we saw from those Hawkeyes and that new clause, we know Brian Ferentz has got to get to that magic number, that magic points per game number to keep his job this year. Are you a believer that's enough to get those Hawkeyes back over 7.5 wins and near the top of the Big Ten standings once again?
Your head went exactly where mine went, sir. I don't care about 7.5. I care about 325. I care about that over-under. Do you know what that over-under is?
I do not.
325. Why don't you go put that in your calculator, divide that by 13. That is 25 points per game. That is the clause. 325 points. Obviously, they got to go to a bowl game in order to get there. But that is the over-under I'm interested in, because I'm going to be looking at that every week to see where Iowa is in the points per game. Even if they're winning games, they could be like 6-0, beating teams 17-13. But I in all seriousness, looking at Iowa's schedule, out of conference, you obviously have Iowa State, Western Michigan, and Utah State. Like, Iowa State should be, I mean, who knows with the Cyclones? They're up and down.
Well, they don't have their quarterback.
They don't look very good right now.
Some off-the-field stuff. So they're kind of like, I think things are pretty bad right there in Ames.
Yeah, exactly. So it is on the road, but a dangerous place to play on the road. But they too, like Illinois, don't have to play Ohio State or Michigan from the East, but they do have to go at Penn State, at Wisconsin. They got that Wrigley Field game with Northwestern. I don't know. They feel so average. Kirk Ferentz seems to just do a phenomenal job of like keeping his job, like just doing exactly what it takes to get people feeling like Iowa's good again. They have a couple good years and then they kind of go back to mediocrity. So I feel like I want to say they're going to be fine, but 7.5 feels too rich for my blood. So this feels like a 7-5, 6-6 team. So I'm going to go under on Iowa.
We disagree on
this
very program. This is my lock of the Big Ten. They're hitting the over. 8-4 is the floor here for the Hawkeyes. They never go under 8-4. Like, you go through the history for Kirk Ferentz. Matt Green, we talk about last year just the offensive ineptitude and everything else, but they were mighty close to being in the Big Ten title game last year. Like, there was a late miscue in just what they did against Nebraska. That game goes differently. They're in the Big Ten championship game when their offense was disgusting all year long. 2 years ago, they had the second best defense in college football. The takeaways were insane. We were talking about them in Georgia as like these two behemoth defenses and like how fun it would be. We were talking about on this podcast, like what would it look like to get Georgia and Iowa on the field together and how that game would go with those two defenses and their takeaways and everything else.
I think we know how that game would have gone. It would have been something similar to the TCU game.
No, not even close. Like, that game would have been like Clemson.
Michigan had a sick defense that year, and Georgia absolutely blasted them. Like,
I'm saying, do you remember
Iowa's not keeping that close?
I think they would. I think that 2 years ago Iowa team would have kept it close. I think it would have been pretty nasty. I think it would have been like 27-13 Georgia or something. But I think it would have been like 13-13 at the half. They went 6-2 in 2020. They've hit the 8-win mark out of the last 8 years, Matt Green. They've at least won 8 games 7 times over the last 8 years. The defense is nasty.
And the only time it wasn't was the COVID year, and they went 6-2.
The defense is going to be great again. They return a bunch of dudes. I don't see it. McNamara, I think it's an upgrade at quarterback than what they've had in the last couple of years. Not elite, but I think he'll be fine. Keep them nice and steady. We've seen Cade McNamara start a college football playoff game. It's better than a lot of Iowa quarterbacks the last couple of years.
Is that an accomplishment?
Lock it in. Iowa's winning at least 8 games. I think Iowa.
Cade McNamara seems to be confident, but all right, I'll lock it in, sir.
This is a big year for Iowa. This is the last year of divisions in the Big Ten, sir. So, excuse me. I think this is a big year. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you.
That's the other thing.
They're making the Big Ten title game.
Oh, wow.
It's happening.
That's the other thing I was going to say. Like, they were almost in the Big Ten title game last year because the Big Ten West is garbage. Like,
well,
they
guess
went
what,
8-4
Matt Green?
in the regular
Spoiler
season.
alert. It might be garbage again.
Or they went 7-5 in the regular season. They actually won the bowl game to finish 8-5.
Correct.
So yeah, it was a 7-win regular season last year though. So there is that. And then 2017 was a 7-win regular season. So there has been some 7-win regular seasons in there. Yeah. They'll win the bowl game. So who knows? We'll see on the Hawkeyes.
PJ Fleck, man, rowed the boat. Golden Gophers 7.5. Matt Green, what say you with this schedule?
With this schedule, so Nebraska, I think, is just season opener. Like, that's probably a good time to get Nebraska. Not that there's going to be too many bad times to get them, but game 1 of year 1 of a brand new head coach, Thursday night atmosphere. I like your chances to open up and get a win. At North Carolina, I'm high on the Tar Heels this year. I think that's going to be a tricky one. But yeah, you got Michigan. They got to go at Ohio State, and they got Wisconsin. Like you said, with Iowa, your pick to win the Big Ten West. I also think Illinois is going to be a pretty good team. So I look at this, and what was it, 7.5? I do like Minnesota. I like where PJ Fleck has this program, but I don't know. I don't see this team winning necessarily more than 7.